Hello and welcome to Cage Club. Two fans, over 100 movies, one cage. This is episode 121. The Gunslingers from 2025. I'm Mike Manzi.
And I'm Joey Lewandowski. And Mike, I actually have news for you. It's not the Gunslingers, it's just Gunslingers.
Oh, it's just Gunslingers?
They pulled a Facebook and I dropped the.
Oh, interesting, because I watched it on whatever Fandango minus is, whatever that is now, and I rented it, and it had the Gunslingers.
It is the Gunslingers in some places, but on IMDb and I think on Letterboxd, it's just Gunslingers. That's how you know a movie is really good, when they don't even have a consistent title across platforms.
Yeah, I love when that was a trend, dropping the.
So Gunslingers, in a town named Redemption, reformed gunslinger Thomas Keller and Mad Genius Ben, played by Nicolas Cage, are guided by spiritual leader Jericho towards vindication. While confronting their violent histories, their newfound peace is challenged by violence and revenge.
Okay.
So before we get into this movie, I do want to say, brighter skies ahead, sunnier skies ahead. Supposedly, this weekend, The Surfer, not just Surfer, The Surfer.
Yeah, it's funny. Someone at work was like, I heard there was a new Cage movie out. I was like, oh, you mean Gunslingers? And she's like, what? What are you talking? I was like, oh, you must mean The Surfer. She's like, yeah, I actually heard of that one. I was like, oh, cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, my friend Bob, who I do How to Win the Lottery with, texted me a few weeks ago. He's like, new Cage movie looks good. I'm like, which one? Because I think I know which one you're talking about, but I don't know,
I think we're the only ones that know about this one because we do the show. I follow Heather Graham on Instagram, and so that's how I found out she was working with Cage at some point. That felt like quite a while ago.
Here we are. So this is also, the third, under 700 people have seen this on Letterboxd. So,
Wow. The privileged few.
Okay, so this is directed by Brian Skiba and written and produced by him too. He did a movie called Rotten Tail. He did a movie called The Second. He's also done a handful of Christmas movies, so nothing that I've seen, but just stuff there. Okay. Produced by a couple other people that I don't know. One person, Jamie R. Thompson, don't know if it's a man or woman, produced Old Henry, which is at least a movie that I've heard of. So there's some, to that end, there's about 15 production title cards before the movie starts.
I counted 9.
9.
And I had on my screening. So.
I think I'd heard of none of them.
Yeah, no Saturn films.
No Saturn films, which seems weird.
Shocking.
I guess it just means that Cage is like, I'm not chipping money and you're paying me for this one.
That could be, or it's just not so close to his heart. Although, judging from his performance, I don't understand like why.
Well, so what's wild about this is that up until 2 years ago, you're like, I want Cage in a Western, and now we've had 3 Cage Westerns in the last 24 months.
Yeah, I don't know that. The best one was the buffalo roaming one when they were hunting buffalo. I think he fit best in that. I think that was the best of what was because most of them are like the other two are like this. There's this one, and then the one before that was also of similar quality. I remember. Somewhat of an Unforgiven ripoff, maybe.
Yeah, so there's Butcher's Crossing, and then there's also The Old Way.
The Old Way, yes. Yeah, I know. I was clamoring for it. I thought he'd be great in a Western. He's not terrible. I think he's quite entertaining in this one, at least. He's got something going on, something different. But when they go buffalo hunting, I thought he was pretty good.
I mean, I think the thing that we're running into here, and no offense to any of these directors who have done these movies, but we need to see him in a Western with somebody who knows what they're doing, who is who is an established, accomplished, good director. Because this is just it's just a mess.
It's not a genre that's in vogue right now. I remember somewhere in the early or mid 2000s, there was a push and a comeback a little bit. And then sort of the neo-modern Western became a thing, which are great movies too and stuff. So there aren't really, I can't think of a lot of Westerns happening now, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, all the Westerns happening now are on TV. It's all the Taylor Sheridan stuff, right? It's Yellowstone and all those spinoffs. Yeah. It's bigger than it's ever been. It's just not movies.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also production wise, this thing is kind of a nightmare to watch, it's just as a film, the language is so weird. We'll talk about it, but story wise, plot wise, that was a very, interesting idea. Could have been an episode of some kind of, Tall Tales from the Range, sort of show on HBO or something like that. But I don't know.
So there's no information about budget. There's no information about box office. It was released in select theaters and VOD on the same day, April 11th, so just about 3 weeks ago.
The Soderbergh model.
There's not enough people who have rated it on Rotten Tomatoes to give it an audience score. It has only a 5% by the critics and a 22 on Metacritic.
I think on my, it used to be called Vudu. It still is, Vudu Fandango, whatever you want to rent on. That's where my digital copies live. 4% critic review last night when I watched it. I was like, oh my gosh.
I still think like this is toward the bottom of the 119 or whatever I have ranked for him, but I still think 211 is worse because I think 211 was closer to when he was consistently good. I feel like he's been on such a run of just making movies to make movies. And like I feel sad that I'm talking like this because I want the goal of Cage Club. You and I both want the goal like to be positive.
Right.
And I feel like for the first run up through Pay the Ghost, when we like caught up on his movies, there were maybe 2 or 3 movies that we didn't like. There were all these things that we maybe didn't think the movie was good, but we like genuinely pretty liked. And now it feels like almost every time there's a new Cage movie, just like, all right, like I'm just bummed that like it just sort of stinks. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, there was definitely. I think like it's weird in a way. I feel like my brain is strangely like stuck in a zone where like there were so many on-demand stuff. Like because the first run it was like mostly like I'd say 90% theatrical, and it was right when he was starting to get into doing the video stuff. And then like chapter 2 of our journey was like lots of that. And my head is sort of still in that space when we do these shows, even though he's like, it felt like he's crawling out of it. You know, he had the Pedro Pascal movie, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. That was a big hit in theaters. Then he had the one where he's like Freddy Krueger in people's dreams. That was a big hit in every, you know, and that was in theaters. And it just felt like, and like with the Surfer coming out, that he was sort of like shedding this stuff. But I don't know, man. I mean, I guess he still has to pay for college for his kids and all that kind of shit. And, you know, I get it.
I think there is something like we've said this before that I think he just likes staying busy and likes doing work and likes, you know, acting. And I think that there's, you know, for whatever reason, if he takes the project because he wants a Western, maybe likes working with Heather Graham, maybe Brian Skiba when he talked to him, like really impressed him. I don't know what it was, but the fact is we're covering all of his movies and they're not all good. And it's just sad to me that that seems lately there are fewer good ones than others.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
We just had Long Legs. We're going to have the Surfer.
Right, there you go. Long Legs too.
There's a lot of good stuff.
And also, like, at least in this one, it seems like he took it because he's like, I could really kind of like get a couple things out of my system with this character. You know, like I kind of, what's it called? Foreshadowed his raspy voice that he uses in this when I was doing the intro. But like that, his mannerisms, the idea of his character, just like everything about him sort of, he doesn't, you know, spoiler, like I don't feel like his character fits in this movie like whatsoever. He's kind of totally doing his own thing, which is fine, which is great. But it also feels like a project where he was sort of just like, you know, shaking the cobwebs loose a little bit maybe and just like getting this stuff out of his system because he needed to try it somewhere.
Here's the good thing is that if he has to get this out of his system, do it in a movie like this and then don't let it bleed over into a Long Legs, into a The Surfer, into a Unbearable Weight or whatever.
Dude, that makes kind of, I don't know how or when they were filmed, but like this and Long Legs, like, you know, Long Legs had the voice very similar to this character. So it kind of feels like maybe he was working it out or doing something in prep or shedding it after or something. But there's definitely like a bit of like that going on here, working the voice.
Because that's what's weird about indie movies, and I did not look up when this was shot, but like indie movies either like it feels like they just shoot a thing and it just comes out, or like they shoot it and comes out like 3 years later. So this might have been shot before Long Legs, it might have been shot alongside Long Legs.
Right.
All we know is it's out now. It was shot in Kentucky.
Oh, okay. It takes place there too, right?
At the now defunct Guntown Mountain, a Wild West theme park in Cave City, Kentucky, near Mammoth Cave National Park.
You're kidding. This was shot in a theme park?
Apparently. I mean, there was a place,
I mean, because it looks like a backlash.
What's the Wild West? There's a Wild West town in New Jersey that I went to as a kid.
Oh,
that is just,
really?
it's like, you know, it's like a little street and everybody, you know, they have like old coins that you can look at and there's just like, you know,
They say
like, there's
howdy.
just people. Exactly. It's like one of those kind of things. So I'm guessing it's kind of like that.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah, because it felt like one of those like defunct ghost towns from like the 70s or whatever. It used to be tourist traps kind of situation.
Cage, one of the stars. The star, though, probably is Steven Dorff, who was in World Trade Center. I do not remember him in that, but he's probably best known for Somewhere, directed by Cage's cousin, Sofia Coppola.
Oh, wait, what? How is it? He's best known for The Gate. Come on now.
Maybe. I mean, look, this is something that was on Wiki or IMDb or something. I'm just like, look, that's a Uncle Francis connection.
He's great in Blade. terrific villain in Blade. He was, I liked him in True Detective 4, sort of like the grizzled old guy detective trying to keep his shit together, I guess, his anger issues. I like Steven Dorff. He's all right. Like, I don't feel like necessarily it's like, I don't know, there's something off about this movie for sure, but it's not Steven Dorff. It's not this Costas Mandalore is amazing in this movie. Like he's got one of those stares that could just like, he could stare down for yards. Like, it's crazy. Heather Graham, I don't know if she convinces me digging a bullet out of her leg necessarily, but
Yeah, like it's tough. Like I don't know. I like Heather Graham a lot. I think that scene was important. Also, the thing with Heather Graham in this movie is that she's got this kid. She brings this kid to town. She's like a kid from Keller's past, right?
mm-hmm.
A woman from his past, a kid from his past, whatever. And so the plot of the movie, as far as I understand, is that Keller's brother. So in 1903 in New York, there's a violent opening shootout.
Yes, and a fantastic AI opening shot, right? That opening shot had to be AI. It looked like it was a matte painting, but it had that. It had to be AI.
And then in that first scene, speaking of effects, there is lots of CGI and fire and blood spatter, and it's so aggressively like, we want to shoot this in a certain way and you're going to enjoy it. It's like, okay.
They're sort of like bringing back that Jason Bourne quick cutting, confusing kind of thing, but there's no, throughout this entire movie, there's no establishing anything. Like, as a director, I plead to this guy as a director, like, there's ways to break down a scene with certain shots, it's like establishing shot, this, that, like you show all the characters or whatever. But like, this doesn't do that at all. This is like close up to close up to close. I'm like, that guy's in the room. That guy's in the room. Like, who else is in this fucking room we don't know about?
There's a lot of characters in this movie, like, especially once we get to Kentucky, there's like a bunch of dudes. There's like, the women are easier to sort of separate because there's like girl bartender, there's Heather Graham, and there's evil girl, right? Like, those are like the three, and then there's like the little girl. But there's Cage, there's Steven Dorff, there's Dorff's brother in the movie, and then there's other guys who, like, I know and I've seen in the movie, but like, I don't know what their role is, but it's just like a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, the only thing I thought was a cool idea, but totally underutilized, was that they had the sheriff was Chinese, which was like,
we need to talk about his wig.
Oh boy, we don't have to.
Well, so that guy, I don't know if you recognize him, but he is in a bunch of things. He's the general from Arrival.
Mm-hmm.
He was in The Farewell. Like, he's been in a ton of things. He's a great actor. And here he's wearing a really fake looking wig. And I was like, oh man, the actor's name is, I think, Zima.
I think so. Yeah. But
he's a great actor, just not.
Yeah, and a great idea for the sheriff, because just like classically in Westerns, the Chinese characters are degraded to like, railroad workers, this and that kind of thing. And so I was like, wow, that's actually like an interesting twist. I think that works. And then they don't do anything with him whatsoever. He goes and hides with Steven Dorff for most of the movie.
There's the opening shootout.
Right. He kills a Rockefeller.
So, okay, here's the question that I had for you. Also, did you stay through the credit scene?
Oh yes, yeah. Where they
okay. We'll get there at the end. I just want to make sure that, like, I wanted to see if we're on the same page. But like, are they using Rockefeller? Like, is this like James D. Rockefeller? Like, is that or is it just like a name that we know? Like, I wasn't sure.
It's got to be the Rockefeller,
right?
Like, yeah, it's like one of his sons we never heard of, or whatever. Because that's the time period. That's the time frame.
And so the idea is that like he kills. Like, the Rockefeller is trying to like rob the saloon or the bar or whatever.
Unclear. Very unclear. It like starts in the middle of a gunfight. Yeah. Joey, call Fred Guinness, get him on the phone. There are more gunshots in this movie than any movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It has to hold a record somewhere. So many gunshots. Every 5 minutes when we get to town, a fucking gunfight breaks out.
And there's no real explanation or like justification for any of them. And then in this opening one, they like rip off the guy's like bandit mask. They're like, oh, it's a Rockefeller. You got to get out of town. It's like, it didn't mean to kill him. I didn't mean to kill him. And then it's like 4 years later, Kentucky. It's like, okay, so then the sins of the past. But it's just like, we don't.
No, it's right. They definitely didn't need that 4 years later. It could have just been 4 months later. There's a lot. I didn't understand that was his brother that got burned in the face. By the way, Not the best use of an eye patch in a Cage film. If you remember that like post-apocalyptic one
Oh
with the
yeah, with the
little
bread in
kid
the eye,
with
the
the
bread in the
bread,
eye.
I was
How
definitely
could I
thinking of
forget?
the bread.
I will say though, there is a little bit, after we record this, you and I are going to do an episode of our Elvis podcast, Viva Pod Vegas, and in both this movie and that movie, our main characters are photographers. And I was like, what
Oh,
is going on? Cage the photographer here, just chronicling the town's activities, and
yeah.
Elvis we'll talk about there too. But I'm just like, I
Oh
cannot
boy,
believe they're both photographers. Like that's such a weird, like, and Cage
it
here
is.
is like dancing as he's photographing and like sort of like spasming as he's like it's very like he just like can't sit
Yeah.
still, and then at
Ye-
a certain point the photography just goes away, but like for the first like third of the movie he's a photographer. I'm like, that's kind of a cool thing.
Well, like, and I wasn't sure if he was the preacher that was also the photographer who might also be the bartender or what. Because when Heather Graham comes to town, he's like reading the Bible. He's like, "This is a good book. You should check it out." And then like when they're fake burying Stephen Dorff, he's got the Bible, but like he's also he's very shaky. I don't know if that's supposed to be like he's got some kind of disease or something, or if like he's just a very nervous fellow. But feels almost like a snake at times, the way he's like shimmying around the set and stuff. But yeah, crazy coincidence.
So we have him. I do like the Bible thing. I like the cross-shaped sunglasses. I like
That's
his overall
wild.
look.
Would those even exist in 1904? Like whatever those
There's no
types of.
function to them. It's
It's
purely
nuts.
aesthetic, right?
He's steampunk. Like
He is.
he
He's
stepped
like a
through.
magician. He's a steampunk magician.
He is. He like stepped through some other door from another world just to be here tonight.
I just don't know why he's rasping like that.
Oh, I had a theory
Okay.
actually.
Well, I have a theory too, but go ahead.
But it's I think so. When they were faking his death, because that's like the protocol. Like you come to this town, they fake your death. They take all these pictures and shit, and then they nail your wanted sign on your grave, and they put like a coyote in there instead. They're like going through the thing. They hang Stephen Dorff. They put him in a coffin and bury him, but they don't. It's not really him. I'm thinking like maybe they actually like he was hanged at one point and like survive that kind of thing, kind of like an Aldo Rain situation. But I didn't see any like scarring. But that's where my mind went. He's like, maybe he survived a hanging.
I'm just thinking there might be just, coal country, either like coal fumes or
Ooh,
fire, like
that's
smoke
good.
or something, but also no one else speaks like that. You would think that
Yeah,
other people in town would have that. I don't know.
I don't
I do like the
know.
hanging thing. The hanging thing could be it.
I think he could also just be shaking off the long legs.
But it is funny to me that Heather Graham comes into town and is just like, anybody know where Thomas is? And they're just like, holy shit, she's asking about Thomas. And it's like, no, we don't know who Thomas is yet. Like, I understand that the movie's like trying to like tell us this, but it's just like, we don't know anything about anyone here. Like,
Yeah,
he's not established. He's out like in the outskirts or something. Like, he's not even like in town.
like it's obvious the movie was sort of going to be about someone coming for Stephen Dorff, at some point. But it just raised the question: is like, why hasn't anyone else come for any of these
Don't
other
know.
outlaws over the last however many years? Because everybody knows about this town. Everyone knows, like, he rolls into town. His brother, One Eye, rolls into town. He's like, oh, everybody here is an outlaw that faked their death. Like, I'm rounding everybody up after Cage, or I mean, after Blade, Stephen Dorff. While it's a cool premise, there needs to be like this, Shangri-La sort of situation where like you have to follow a certain map at a certain time of day and be like ferried there by, it's just like you wander across this town and everyone's like, oh yeah, I've heard about this place. What?
It does feel like this is like the central hub of Kentucky or something, but it's like 13 people.
Parts of it feels like a Twilight Zone episode,
A little
like
bit.
like size wise, production wise, sort of like this town of the damned thing. It would have been cool if you found out at the end that like they actually were dead. There was some sort of like Pirates of the Caribbean situation going
Well, it does
on.
feel like, and maybe not, but it feels like everyone in this movie is like taking like grievous mortal injuries and like nobody's actually dying except for the bad guy who got shot through the eye at the end. But like people are being hanged, people are getting shot, people are getting like having
Oh,
shrapnel exploded into them. And
those
they're all like,
guys
no,
at
we're
the
fine.
end, they're being hanged for like 10 minutes. When they're trying to like lift up the trap door and everything, that goes on for so long. Yeah, then Cage gets like shrapnel like through his shoulder and they just like yanks it out. He's like, oh well. Like off I go. I will say, like early on, there were like it was so frustrating because there's like these little moments in the movie where it's like, oh, like that's actually not too bad. Something I've never seen before when they first find Steven Dorff and he's like filling his water in the stream and the dude's like taking a leak in the stream, which I thought was kind of a clever writing little gag. He uses his fucking horse as a shield.
Well, yes. So that was brutal.
That's
Also, like very clearly, like the horse doesn't react at all. Like,
no.
which I understand. I don't know. You know, I mean, like you're not going to want to do that to a horse. Also, it's a low budget movie. You know what I'm trying to say? But like, I was like, this is so gnarly and such like a mean. Like it's almost like a reverse save the cat move.
Right?
And they have like the horse like shot like 3 or 4 times, and then as he turns it around, he then shoots the guys who were shooting, and then the horse just like runs off. I'm like, hold on, wait, what?
No, I know it's like very poorly executed. Like most of the things in this movie, unfortunately. Like that's the thing is this like when you watch a movie, your brain is sort of trained to accept information in a certain way, and this throws all that out the window. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but like the editing, like establishing shots, like setting up a scene properly so that like I could follow what's going, like no sense of geography whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like completely lost in every scene as to like where am I, who's here, what's going on.
I don't know. I don't know.
But after that, I mean, like, look, watch it for just the spontaneous gunfights that break out and go
Well,
on
okay, so
and
here,
on and
so
on.
I think there's a version, and I wonder if this movie was sold by like the movie ends with a 45-minute shootout, and it's like, holy shit, that sounds awesome. Like it's like the movie essentially takes its time getting everyone we know, like arranging all the pieces, getting everybody to town in like set up whatever, right? And then they're all there, and they're like, the shootout's gonna come.
Yeah.
And then the shootout happens, and then there's like a lull, and the shootout continues or whatever. Like, did you see Sinners or not yet?
No, not yet. But this reminded me of like The Raid in that sense, where it's just a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet. Like they show up way too early. They show up way too early in this movie. Like the guy rolls into town a half an hour into the movie, and he's like, "I found you." And I'm looking at the watch. I'm like, "Wait a minute. What's going to happen for the next hour? This guy's like an hour early. Like he's not supposed to show up until like the third act, or at least halfway through the second act." Like, it just was so confusing. And then it was just, dude, Joey, you wanted a 45-minute gunfight. We got like an hour, 20-minute gunfight. So like, it's just nuts.
I think there's a version of this that's cool, but to the point you were saying before, like we can't, it's hard to visually tell what's happening, who's who's getting shot, where people are, why people are shooting. The only like real reprieve we get is when like Heather Graham gets into that carriage and like rides away. We're like, okay, she's gone now. Like she's at least not in town. But like, I don't understand the geography of the town, which makes this all difficult.
No,
Which is a bummer.
it's too bad. It is a bummer. It's too bad. Like I feel like if it was a town that maybe Steven Dorff's character grew up in and they were covering for him, but the fact that everybody in the town has done, and there's an entire graveyard filled with graves of what like the, I think it's like it's more like feels like a comic book actually. I think it would be a cool comic book kind of the situation maybe, but I don't know if it works for me so much as like a honest Western.
Yeah. So Cage in the midst of this, like not at the start of the shootout, like because there is like a little bit of a gearing up montage, but like in the middle of it, basically moves from like peace to war, gets outfitted with a pistol belt, like dual pistols, and then at some point he like passes out or he falls asleep or gets knocked out or something, because then he wakes up with a scripture and just shouts in this raspy voice, "Baptize me, Matthew 3:14," and it's like, okay.
Yeah, throughout the whole movie, he's sort of being teased, where they're like, "Why aren't you picking up a gun? Like, why didn't you shooting anybody?" He's like, "Because I made my deal with the Lord. I can't kill anybody." And then he finally is like, "Fine, I'll put on some guns, right?" And then he gets like blown up. He's like in the explosion. And then he's like tussling with one of the dudes and he like trips and the guy's like neck gets broken on the steps of the saloon accidentally. And I figured like, okay, so like he killed that guy. He's probably like, oh, well, like I killed the guy. I might as well just like keep on going and start being like my badass gunslinger version again. But I think the concept to him was like he was the most famous of the wanted men that is hiding there and like the most deadly. So like as soon as he got his guns on, like at the end, he comes in like the savior. He's like walking down the street doing trick shots and like shooting everybody around him. He's like completely
So you think he's
invincible.
like a reformed killer turned ministry man?
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's what happens when you get to this town. You just like become a good person. You just decide like I'm done with all the
Well, you
killing and
mentioned,
the.
True Detective earlier, but like I think there's something where like you go to a remote place like in Alaska or whatever, and it's like you just create a new life. It's like people don't
Mhm.
care what you were, especially in 1907 or whatever. People don't care what you were.
Right.
You are Bible man.
Yeah. Exactly. Who also takes pictures from
Right.
time to time.
Somebody's got to do it.
I guess. Yeah.
So halfway through the shootout, the bad guys seemingly win. Stephen Dorff gets arrested. Heather Graham gives in. Zima are walked to the gallows. He and a couple others are walked to the gallows. Then Cage gets a piece of wood impaled into his shoulder. He says, "Jesus fucking Christ!" And then he like realizes that he blasphemed and covers up his mouth, which I think is pretty funny.
Oh, dude, he does that thing like, oh man, there was a cartoon character it reminded me of, but I can't place my thing. And it also is either like Laurel, not Laurel and Hardy, but like one of the guys, like he does this thing where one of them's berating him. He's like, I can't believe you didn't do anything during that. And Cage like does that thing with his mouth where he like pushes it all the way up into a corner, like he's like a little like a little kid being like berated by his parents, and he's like sitting in the corner. I was like, oh my god, what is he doing? And
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So it seems like, but again, there's like 25 minutes left, or however much time left. It's like, well, the bad guys can't win because that's when somebody from out of nowhere throws an axe to stop the hanging. The girl bartender from some kind of hidden vantage point starts shooting.
By the way, I don't think we mentioned not just a girl bartender, Scarlett Rose Stallone. That's one of my daughter. Don't
That's a
talk
Sly
to
and the
my.
Family Stallone.
Stay away from my granddaughter.
Oh my god, that's also a pretty good Ming Salmon. I had no idea that was a Stallone.
Yeah, it was killing me the whole movie. I was like, she looks so modern. I know I've seen her before. Oh yeah, Robin made me watch the Stallone like thing, the reality show.
I
Yeah,
even clicked on her letterbox thing. So I'm like, I did not look at her name because I did not see Stallone. But I was like, oh, I think she like just like reminds me of the actress from Barry. You watch
okay.
Barry?
Yeah. I saw the first season
Because
I liked
she's
it a
like,
lot.
the actress, like the waitress,
Mhm.
whatever, who like in his class, like she looks like her.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, maybe
similar
maybe it
vibe.
is her, maybe it's not her. I don't know, but like, I clearly did not look at her name. I clicked
Hey.
on Scarlett Rose Stallone and did not see Stallone.
Tell Nick I said hi. We still gotta do a movie together.
Okay, so shout out to her. Pretty good.
Yeah, her father's one of 3 running Hollywood right now.
So as she's doing this, Cage then dual wielding. He's also the Tulsa King. Like, she's in Kentucky. He's got Oklahoma.
Yeah. Maybe that's how she got like on here.
Maybe, or just she's like, hey, my dad is Sylvester Stallone. And they're
I'll
like,
do anything. I'm
okay.
gonna go, baby.
And then Cage is really like leading the next round of resistance. This is another like I wish that they leaned more into like they put like one foot into the religion thing. I wish they went like full into it because he's like, help me, Jesus, help me, good God, help. Like he's
Yes.
channeling holy strength to like push up the hanged men's floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I wish that there was like divine, like, look, you're in 1907 Kentucky, like do whatever you want.
Right.
Like have like an angel come down and help him or something.
Take it there, or at least let him see it. Like there's that moment I thought it was going to happen. He gets shot in the leg and falls, and then he's looking up at the dude in the gallows, and there's like that heavenly light shining, and I was like, is he going to like see an angel in his mind come down? Are we going to see what he sees, even if it's not real kind of situation? I was like, go there. And because like now come to think of it, even the guy with the messed up eye patch, like at some point he should have lost that eye patch and kept him with like the weird makeup, because like that's what Cage is doing, and that's what they got close to with the villain. It's just like everybody needed like a weird thing about themselves, like they just, the Costas Mandalore guy, the dad to Scarlett Stallone, I guess he's like the guy who runs the town. I thought he was great. He had like those piercing blue eyes, and he felt like he was in sort of a different movie as well, like almost like a Terminator type of character. But it needs more flair. Like it needed more of that flair.
there's the ebb and flow where if there was more flair, like the tug of the battle would feel maybe more interesting. But then like Cage gets shot, the hangman started hanging again. Like the bad guy gets a jump on Heather Graham, the bad woman pulls a gun on the Stallone. Like it's just like okay, like it's all like it's like the bad guys win. No, the good guys come back. It's like well, the bad guys are leading now, and then like truly in the end, the good guys win when someone, I think maybe Mandalore, shoots the bad woman in the back, saving Stallone. Right. Mm-hmm. Dorf takes out the brother. Cage is helped up. They regain the footing of the hanged men. It really would have been wild if this movie was like, no, all the good people die. Like the evil wins.
Dude, that might have like saved the entire movie in that way, you know, to like put that sort of twist on everything at the end to be like, whoa, wait a minute. Like usually at this point things start turning around, but like he's dead, Steven Dorff's dead, Cage is dead. Like what's going on here? Uh-huh. Like Stallone's been shot in the head. Like, oh my God, are they going to win? Like, that would have been something. I would have given the movie more props for something like that. I think the issue is like, it's not necessarily what's happening. It's just that it goes on and on and on. And there's just too much of it. Like there's too many characters right. They have to sort of scroll through. There's too many like just situations they have to just do by the book kind of stuff. It dragged in that way. Like even some shots, again, like I know I talked about like how confusing it could be to watch, but then some shots still just linger. And I'm like, well, you're breaking your own sort of rules here of how you're presenting the movie. Like now you're giving us this nice long sweeping shot, but like it's too late because my brain now it can't register correct stuff.
Right.
Anyway.
It's a bummer.
Oh, well.
Yeah, oh well. So there is a reveal at the end that we need to talk about, right? Where Heather Graham comes to town with his kid.
Yeah.
And I think all movie long you assume it's Dorff's kid.
Yeah.
And then you find out that it's the bad guy's kid.
No.
And it's like, well, hold on. And then it's like, all right, like that doesn't make any sense. And then at the end, the bad guy confronting Dorff has the little girl like around, like his arm around the girl, gun to her head. He goes, she's not my daughter. She's your daughter. And it's like, yeah, of course. That means to me that Heather Graham slept with both brothers.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like if Dorff thinks the girl is his brother's kid, yes, but is actually his kid.
His kid. So yeah, they both slept with her. She's ex-whore though. That's what they call. Or is that just he's just like you're a whore? Or was she really like an old Westie type of?
I don't know.
Lady? Okay, I'm not sure either. Unclear.
But I was like, this is interesting that like the movie is like, you know, this woman that you've been rooting for that like has earned goodwill by being in Boogie Nights and all these different things, and like these movies, like decades of movies that you love. Well, she slept with both brothers. It's like, what? Okay. Not that that's a bad thing.
No, but just like trying
the emotional reveal of the movie is like, she's not my kid, she's your kid. It's like, well,
that didn't even register.
That's what that means, right?
It's still not landing. It's still like, I was just like, oh yeah, so like that's Steven Dorff's kid. They both slept with Heather Graham, but I didn't have it in my head that they were brothers until the end, and then it was too late for me to realize that they slept with the same girl. Yeah, I guess it happens. There's that movie Brothers with who is it? One of the Spider-Man. Was it Gyllenhaal and Tobey Maguire?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the war brother. He thought he was dead, and he sleeps with whoever, Jane Foster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes it's just easier to remember.
Natalie Portman?
Yes, thank you.
So then the movie ends, though, as I let you process this, by the hanged men in Cage all just passing around a bottle, getting drunk.
Yep.
I was watching with closed captioning, and it just says upbeat music at the end, which is sort of like generic rock song.
Pretty much.
And they zoom out, and every like 18 inches on the ground is just a dead body. Like it's a field of dead bodies.
And they like came out of nowhere. People didn't land there during the actual gunfight. Like, is that just supposed to be artistic representation of like the number of kills and deaths? And they're looking around at each other jokingly like, oh man, like look at all this. We got to clean all this up before mom gets home, you know? And it's like half of these people are your friends and family.
So the movie ends, the credits roll, and I was just like, let me just see.
I had a bad feeling.
And like 2 or 3 minutes into the credits, there's a credit scene, and there's a guy at a poker table gambling about how he's like, you want to know how I got that biggest reward that's ever been claimed? And these two guys with like their hats slung real low.
The brothers, apparently, I didn't. The other brothers in the movie.
Was the guy who was bragging someone we knew?
That's not Bill Moseley from like the Rob Zombie movies. He looked like him, but I thought it was the one. It was the.
But I mean, like he wasn't previously in the movie.
Well, wasn't he the gray-haired guy?
Oh,
Like
maybe, I don't know.
I thought he was the gray-haired guy. Halfway through, he like goes into Two-Face's like place, and I think he's like, "I'll make a deal with you too." Like, here's where Steven Dorff is hiding, or whatever. I don't know. I think he got some reward.
I mean, it makes sense for him to be someone that we know because he's bragging about ostensibly like the events of the movie, and then the guys who sit down at the poker table lift up their hats, and it's Doc Holliday and the Sundance Kid, and they pull out their pistols and they shoot as the movie finally ends. And I'm just like, what are we doing?
I don't know. And the gold, he's like, "You want all my gold?" And he shoves like that fake, like clearly like stage gold across the table. He's just gambling with all this gold. Oh boy. Yeah, cut to black, gunshots.
Any other thoughts about Gunslingers?
Oh no, no. I mean, well, I'm still sort of like it's still running its course in my head. To be honest with you, there's something here. It's just not there. If you catch my drift. Yeah, it just unfortunate it couldn't really come together. I mean, it's definitely worth watching for the Cage performance. If you're a Cage purist, loyalist, whatever you call yourself, if you're just nuts like us and have to watch everything he's in, like what he is doing once again is very interesting for what it's worth. Is it worth having to watch what else is going on? Maybe if you want to see the most gunshots in a movie ever. How else can I phrase that, Joey? Like the most amount of the most shootouts, the most times a gun is shot, the most bullets shot in a movie, the most time you hear a bang ever. Again, call Fred Guinness. This is a real one here. So yeah, if you want to just check, I actually did think Stallone wasn't half bad. Like there's some good acting in here. It's just like hard for them to act well with whatever else is going on.
It's just a bummer. It's a hard package to like a hard thing to swallow when there's talent. Obviously, Cage is good. Obviously, Dorff is good. Stallone has chops. Zima is good.
I honestly think so. I honestly think she wasn't that bad.
I don't know. It's just like I love the frequency with which we get Cage movies. This is the first one of the year, but we have another one coming soon. But it's like, I don't know.
Is keeping the streak alive worth it if this is part of what you got to do?
I mean, I think it just comes with the territory.
Yeah, but not. I mean, yeah, I guess more and more
for
people.
For him.
Well, no. Have you seen? Like, I was thinking today about Travolta. So, like, Travolta is really amped up to Cage levels of video on demand type stuff. Lots of new releases I see recently, like more than Bruce Willis was putting out before he got too sick to keep shooting. This is becoming more of a thing. I think Cage might have been actually ahead of the curve. People were kind of joking about him for doing it at the time, but like now everyone's doing it.
Well, he was doing stuff in 2012 when we're like, these are actually pretty, like when VOD, when movies that were not in theaters were like laughed at, we're like, these are actually pretty good. Like they're not in theaters, but like Stolen or stuff like that, like where we really enjoyed them. I don't know.
There's more people in the pool now is what I'm saying. Like there's more big, like De Niro is doing this kind of, not necessarily this poor quality, but he's doing stuff that is skipping theaters. Lots of people are doing things that are skipping theaters that are just like, wow, like they're huge movie stars. This is what they have to do to survive now. Cage is already sort of like in that pocket. But I will say, like, the movies we got like a decade ago are a lot better than the ones we're getting now.
I think that's also like the same thing with all streaming. Like when like Netflix started or whatever started, just like, oh my God, like all these originals are like pretty good. Like they're like Fincher's doing stuff, right? It's like when Fincher still is, right. But there's just so much. And like, I don't want to complain about like lowering the bar to access to let anybody make a movie, but also there's no reason anybody would watch this movie that we would watch this movie if Cage weren't in it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, or for that matter, Heather Graham, Stephen Dorff. I'm not saying like I'd keep it on if Cage wasn't in this movie, but it just doesn't feel like the kind of project that warrants big stars. It's like, go cut your chops making this with like younger, newer people that no one's really ever heard of, I guess. And like, see how that goes. Might have a better level of control over that project too as a director. So.
Our next movie will be better. know
Yes.
that for a fact. I mean, I don't know that for a fact because I haven't seen
Oh.
Surfer yet, but like all the reactions are very good.
The one clip that was out whenever like a year and a half ago when it was making the festival circuit where he's just like in a tan suit yelling at a bunch of surfers on a beach is kind of better than like most of this movie already.
We'll be back soon. I think that actually I want to see here. Is that going to be? Is that in my local theater? Let's find out right now, live on air. Will it be in my theater this weekend?
I wonder if it'll be in my
It is.
theater. Oh, maybe I'll try and see it too. I'll try and get out. I'm trying to see the Thunderbolts.
You know, it's
with my
competing
nephew.
directly against Thunderbolts and Until Dawn, but
Oh, that's supposed to be really good. Have you played that?
I have not.
I've never even heard of it until this movie, and it sounds awesome.
Past guest of the show, Jessica Collins, aka Montez, loves that game. So
Cool. Well, I'll take her word for it. I know she's a true gamer, so like she knows
she's
her
a
shit.
gamer. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you for subscribing. If you do, go to cageclub.me, poke around, email in mailbag@cageclub.me, talk about any Cage movies. Yes. Mike and I, like I mentioned earlier, are going to record an episode of Viva Pod Vegas, our Elvis Presley film podcast next. So if you want to know about Live a Little, Love a Little, go check out that feed. And just poke around cageclub.me. New episodes almost every day. I've got 2 shows. Mike's got 1 show that's on a mini hiatus right now, coming back soon, but go check it out. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
And I'm Mike Manzi.
And we'll see you next time right here on Cage Club.